I'm Leon.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Caitlin. Welcome to Play On Refugee Services.
At Play On, we feel everybody should have fun, healthy, inexpensive family meals.
So today we have Nicole McDorman from Friendly Fixins who will be showing us how to make a vegetable soup for us today.
And all of these ingredients can be found at your local grocery store.
Here's Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole from Friendly Fixins, and Friendly Fixins is a nonprofit organization where we focus on empowering our community to make healthy decisions about food. And we do that through cooking classes and other educational classes we have today. So thanks for joining me. Today we're going to make a couple recipes, and we're going to start with making vegetable soup. This vegetable soup per cup only has 36 calories and 7 grams of carbs, so it's a healthy alternative to the normal vegetable soup that can be high in sodium and high in carbs. So I hope you enjoy it. In our vegetable soup, we have half an onion, a can of diced tomatoes, 6 ounces of green beans, a whole carrot, and half a zucchini, as well as 15 ounces of beef, chicken, and vegetable broth. You can also add some different seasonings and garlic powders to that, as well as meat. That's also optional. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the food prep and the vegetable prep before we get to the stove. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our onion and we're gonna chop it in half because we only need half of it for the recipe. We'll go ahead and set the other half aside. You can use this for another batch of vegetable soup, or you can use it for a different recipe. We're gonna go ahead and chop the end off and remove the outer layer. And then we're gonna start dicing the onion. So the easiest way to do this is to cut it into long vertical strips, and then you can kind of dice it from there, so in small wedges. And then we'll start dicing our wedges from there. And you can make this as fine or as coarse as you want, depending on your liking. If half an onion is too strong, feel free to use less. You could also use more. So we'll go ahead and put these small pieces into our mixing bowl. We'll set this aside. We have already prepped the green beans. In prepping them, all we had to do was wash them, and then you want to snap the ends of the green beans off to where they attach to the plant. We've also measured them for this recipe, and we've used 6 ounces. We've measured those using a food scale to make sure that we have the right amount. So we'll go ahead and add our onions. Next is the carrot and the zucchini. So first steps with those is to peel them. So we're gonna chop the ends first, and then we'll start peeling. And we want to peel long ways. It's probably the most efficient way to peel it. And it's okay if you don't get all of the peel off as you're peeling it. A little of the outside won't hurt you as we cook it. So once we have it all peeled, we're gonna go ahead and then start cutting this up. So we're gonna cut it in long strips first, and then we'll start dicing it. And then we'll go ahead and cut those halves in half again. And then we'll start chopping it up in little cubes. And then we'll add them to our vegetable mixture. And lastly is the carrot. We're going to use a whole carrot for this recipe. You could also use baby carrots and chop them up as well. Either would work just fine. So we're going to go ahead and chop the ends off. And then we'll start peeling the carrot. And then once we have it peeled, we're going to start chopping it into slices. You really enjoy carrots in your soup. If you use the baby carrots, you could just leave them whole. You could also leave these in slices, or you could chop them up finer into smaller diced cubes. But we're gonna go ahead and leave them like this for the recipe. So we'll put these with the rest of our vegetables. And then we're gonna go ahead and move over to the stove where we're gonna heat up our olive oil and add the broth and the tomatoes. Okay, now that we're ready to put the vegetables and the broth into the pot on the stove, we're using a large pot that has a lid. And we're also gonna start with some olive oil, just a little bit to drizzle in the pan, make sure nothing burns. And we're also using a gas stove, so depending on your stove, you may need a little more or less. We're gonna go ahead and add the broth next, and we need 15 ounces of each broth. And again, we have beef, chicken, and vegetable broth, and all of ours are low sodium. And we go with the low sodium because that we know sodium is one of the contributing factors of hypertension. So to make it a little healthier, and if you have a family risk or family history of heart disease, this is a great alternative. So we're gonna go ahead and pour 15 ounces. And then we'll add that to the pot. And then we'll do 15 ounces of the chicken broth. Once we have the broth in, and then we're gonna go ahead and add our diced tomatoes, and we have 1 can of diced tomatoes, and this is about a 15-ounce can. Again, this also has no salt added, so there's a little less sodium, makes it a little healthier. So we're gonna go ahead and add that whole can, and you need to add it undrained. So you want all the tomato juice in there as well. And then we will add the vegetables. And we'll go ahead and give that a little stir. And then we'll put the lid on and let this cook on medium to high heat for about 15 to 30 minutes. So after this has cooked for about 30 minutes on the stove and it's kind of come to a boil here, you can go ahead and serve it up and turn your burner off. Now this recipe yields about 10 cups, depending on how much soup you want. And then here is your healthy vegetable soup.